恭请大德圣听，维持法会，济解众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱世，离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave sufferings and attain bliss, and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo saranto sucheto ye alahati sanmiao sanbuto che. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa. 百千万劫难遭遇，我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Verbal Master, and all good knowing advisors, welcome back to this week's exploration of the Dharma through the lens of the Medicine Master Buddha Sutra. This is class number 51. Class number 52. Yes, this is 52. That's pretty surprising for me. We've been doing this for some time. And as before we get into the sutra proper, let's recite Medicine Master Buddha's name 7 times. Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. 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 Medicine Master does come one. 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 Sorry, excuse me. As I was reciting Medicine Master Buddha's name, I remembered why we started this. It was, I think the pandemic started, and I was reciting the Medicine Master Buddha mantra every day, and then and also investigating the sutra. And I realized that the sutra was very how you say important and applicable, given that the pandemic has started. And after some conversations with our Malaysian friends, we decided to have this class. And when we first began, I personally thought that this would not take so long. uh, but over time, I realized that the sutra was an excellent way to develop a further understanding of how to practice what the Buddha actually taught. So, I decided to shift gears, and instead of trying to finish the sutra, instead to really go deep into principles taught by the Buddha that we can apply in our everyday lives. So having said that, let's move on to today. Let me share, let me do the slideshow. Okay. Um, so this is what we talked about last week. We explored how the role of precepts and how important it is, because without precepts, it is very, very difficult, or I would say fruitless, to try to develop concentration or samadhi, because as the Buddha explained, concentration, samadhi is a natural step. Once you practice precepts properly, for the right intentions and with the right understanding, then because you get freedom from remorse, the Buddha says you don't even have to want freedom from remorse. It arises by itself. And then you get joy, and then from joy, rapture, tranquility, happiness, concentration, and then wisdom arises by itself. You don't even have to wish that you want it just because you develop your virtue, your precepts correctly, you hold your precepts correctly, all this naturally arises. So concentration in Buddhism is not a skill that you develop in of itself. You don't just sit there and say if we apply this to the Pure Land practice, you don't just sit there and recite Amitabha only, but you also have to see your conduct with the precepts and how it affects your relationship, how you treat other living beings. And so let's move on. Um, we've done this already. We don't have to do this. So what you see right now is a list of wrong views. Um, let me see. Maybe we'll come back to this. Yeah, let's come back to this slide later. Let's move on to more about right view first before we come back here. So this is an excerpt from the sutra called the Mahachattarisaka Sutta. It's about right view. And the Buddha says, and how is right view the forerunner? One discerns wrong view as wrong view and right view as right view. This is one's right view. So right view means you know the difference between right view and wrong view. And then the Buddha says, what is wrong view? There is nothing given, nothing offered, nothing sacrificed. That's the first wrong view. Second is there is no fruit or result of good or bad actions. That means you do not believe in cause and effect. The third one, there is no this world, no next world, no mother, no father, no spontaneously reborn beings, no Brahmins or contemplatives who, faring rightly and practicing rightly, proclaim this world and the next after having directly known and realized it for themselves. What does this mean? Means you don't believe in rebirth, one, and you also believe that after death there's nothing. So you don't trust what people who have experienced it themselves when they have either through their meditative practice or they have spiritual abilities, and they say that, oh, people who pass away do get reborn, because you yourself do not see it, you do not you hold on stubbornly to your views and you do not trust these people. The first one, there's nothing given, nothing offered, nothing sacrificed. I'm going to skip the explanation for this because I'm not 100% clear on what it actually means. When I find out, hopefully, then I can share. But for now, I think I prefer you, uh, uh, I'm unable to explain in a way that I can um, satisfy myself. Yeah. So we carry on with the sutra. What else has the Buddha to say? The Buddha says, one tries to abandon wrong view and to enter into right view. This is one's right effort. One is mindful to abandon wrong view and to enter and remain in right view. This is one's right mindfulness. Thus, these three qualities, right view, right effort, and right mindfulness, run and circle around right view. So here the Buddha is saying that right view um, requires how you say right effort, which is to identify whatever wrong views that you have identified, that you realize, and then to drop them and go into right view. So that's the effort that you have to take. And then how do you take that effort? You have to pay attention to your own mind, to the way you think, to the way you approach life, which most people don't do. They just take for granted that whatever they think is correct, whatever they assume is happening is happening. But what mindfulness does is that uh, it helps you again identify and remain in right view. So let me, this is slide number 6. Let me go back to the second slide where you can see number 6 and 7, right effort and right mindfulness. So that's what the Buddha is referring to when it comes to concentration or samadhi. Okay, let's go back to slide 6. We have done this. Let's go to slide 7. This is a different sutra. Um, this is called the Upajjhatthana Sutta. These are the things that the Buddha says that we should contemplate in our daily lives. I'll just read it and we can explain. The Buddha says, there are these 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or ordained. Which 5? First one, I am subject to aging, have not gone beyond aging. This is the first fact that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or ordained. So the first one is that we all are subject to aging. Second one, I am subject to illness. I have not gone beyond illness. And then the Buddha repeats the same formula. When you see the 3 dots there, it means that the passage repeats the formula or the layout of the passage before. So it means I'm subject to illness, have not gone beyond illness. This is the second fact that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or ordained. Then the Buddha goes on to speak about death, that we have to remind ourselves we are still subject to death. So the first 3, aging, illness, and death, or old age, and old age, illness, death. And then, but that's not all. And then the number 4 is I will grow different, separate from all that is dear and appealing to me. I am the owner of actions, or in other words, karma, heir to my actions, born of my actions, related through my actions, and have actions as my arbitrator. Whatever I do, for good or for evil, to that I will fall heir. These are the 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or ordained. So what the Buddha is trying to say is that part of right view is that you are more aware of what's happening to you as you live your life. A lot of people, myself included, we live our lives without really thinking about what's happening. We do it on a day-to-day basis. When we fall sick, we just accept falling sick, although we're not happy. And then when we recover, we forget. the experience, it doesn't lead to a transformation, and then we just are happy that we are well, taking for granted of our good health, and then we carry on. We are not aware of the subtle changes that happen to us on a day-to-day basis, our aging, our getting old, the way our body changes. But when we look back 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we realize, oh, I am getting old. But because we see it every day, we don't realize it. And then let me go back one slide. So Buddha talks about aging, illness, and Buddha talks about death. We do not contemplate our death. We try not to think about the fact that one day all this is going to end. Why? Because some people find it scary. Some of us do not have the answers on what happens. We are not confident, and it's a lot of us is for us is a big unknown, so we don't think about death. But there's a very funny way of looking at life, because I've used this example before. Say when we go on a holiday, if someone tells you, okay, tomorrow or next week, we're going to go on a holiday, pack your bags and get everything ready, and I'll pick you up at the airport. So what do you want to know? You want to know how long? You want to know where? What's the weather like? Assuming there's no pandemic going on, okay, assuming there's no virus going on, and it's back to the good old days where we took for granted that everything was fine and travel was open and we could go wherever we want as long as we could have afforded it. So putting the virus aside, what else do you want to know? Location, where are you going? How long is the flight? What's the weather so you can pack the right clothes? You want to make sure you have enough money and where to exchange money. You want to know if the place is safe or not. You want to know at the airport, from when you arrive at the airport, where you're going to go. Do you have a passport? And or how valid is your passport? Do you need a visa? And then booking flight tickets. What else? So many things, right? So many things. Do you have the right luggage? How to pack? What to pack? Do you have everything already that you need for your trip? There's 101 things at least to think about when you go on a holiday or a business trip. Then on a trip that we will all take, which we don't really know when, but we know one day it's going to come, we don't prepare for that at all. We do very, very little um, um, homework or preparation, and we cannot just hope for the best. Maybe not everyone who's listening here, but most people, at least me before I became a monk, I didn't really think about death. You know, you just assume that I have lived so-called forever since I was born until now, and that's going to continue. And it's not something you how you say, it's very macabre to think about things like that. So you don't want to spoil your day or your life by preparing for that, which is pretty doesn't really make sense, because you don't want to show up at the airport. I have dreams, or I rather call it a nightmare. You know, you show up at the app. I show up at the airport, and I don't have my passport, or I don't have my flight ticket, or I don't know where I'm going. And in my dream, it gives me a lot of anxiety. I actually worry a lot in my dream, and when I wake up, it's such a relief. But when it's happening for real, that's not something you want to. That's not a situation you want to find yourself in. So the Buddha lists aging, illness, death, and then number 4, grow different, separate from all that is dear and appealing to me. And number 5, everything that happens to us is through our karma. We have to be responsible for ourselves. No one else is responsible for ourselves. Everything that happens to us is because of things that we have done. Everything that will happen to us is a result of things that you have done and things that you will do. And the Buddha says we should reflect on this often. What are these things? some of you may have identified this as part of what is called the eight sufferings. What are the eight sufferings? Birth, then there's old age, sickness, and death, which is the first three in what we just covered. And then grow different, separate from all that is dear and appealing to me can have a few meanings. But under the category of eight suffering, it means number one, you are apart from your dear ones, people that you like to be with. Sometimes you can't be with them. That's a form of suffering. And worse still, the opposite is that you are forced together with people that you don't like. You don't have a choice. You either have to work with them, or you have to live with them, or sometimes you get married to them. Then that's being together with the ones that you dislike. Um, and that's not very good too. And also, if you put that into uh, uh, not people, but in objects or material things, then we can squeeze in the suffering number 7, which is not obtaining what you seek. And so that includes that. Here is not mentioned, but part of the eight sufferings is the suffering of the five skandhas, where if you have ever experienced the quietness of meditation and coming back to your body, you realize that the five skandhas is actually a lot of suffering, but without the contrast of the experience of emptiness where everything is quiet, it's very hard to understand. Yeah. Maybe if you've been in a, like, we like listening to sounds, but what would happen if, say, you're next to a speaker, you're very near a speaker, and someone turns the volume so high that not only it hurts your ears, but the sound becomes distorted and it is no longer pleasing. Or they're playing and at the same time they're playing a very bad song that you really don't like. That's one way of trying to understand how the skandhas can actually be seen as suffering. Okay, now let's go on to see what the Buddha says. The Buddha says, now, based on what line of reasoning should one often reflect? That I am subject to aging, have not gone beyond aging. So the Buddha says, when it comes to aging, he says there are beings who are intoxicated with a typical youth intoxication with youth, meaning you don't really think that you're going to grow old. It's not just young people, although young people really don't think they're going to get old, but it's for most of us who don't, who are not mindful of our aging. Buddha says, because of that intoxication with youth, they conduct themselves in a bad way in body, in speech, and in mind. But when they often reflect on that fact, that youth intoxication with youth will either be entirely abandoned or grow weaker. So the Buddha says, he uses young people as an example who don't really pay attention. We can see that, for example, in the COVID pandemic. I remember reading a report in the US that at that time, maybe half a year ago, it was mainly the elderly that was getting sick. So the young people went out, did not wear masks, and they thought that they were protected. Or, when you're young, you're like Superman, Superwoman, you're invincible. And that's how they felt. So because of that, they put themselves into a situation where some would have regretted later, cause and effect, in other words. So that's what the Buddha is saying, because they are so intoxicated with youth and they do not think about their future, they conduct themselves in a bad way. So for us, bad way means not paying attention to, say, precepts, for example. But the Buddha says, he says, but when they often reflect on that fact, if you keep on examining your own mortality, sorry, not immortality, when you constantly reflect on your own mortality, he says, then your thinking that you always stay young or that you always be alive will be abandoned, or it will slowly grow weaker. Okay, let's move on. So the Buddha has talked about aging, and then the Buddha repeats the same line of reasoning for illness. I am subject to illness. I have not gone beyond illness. I am subject to death. I have not gone beyond death. I will grow different, separate from all that is dear and appealing to me. I am the owner of my actions, heir to my actions, born of my actions, related through my actions, and have my actions as my arbitrator. Whatever I do, for good or for evil, to that I will forbear. Meaning, all these issues about age, illness, death, um, and things that happen to us in everyday life, we are responsible. No one else is responsible. Okay. The Buddha continues by saying, now a disciple of the noble ones considers this. I am not the only one subject to aging who has not gone beyond aging. To the extent that there are beings, past and future, passing away and re-arising, all beings are subject to aging, have not gone beyond aging. When he or she reflects on this, the factors of the path take birth. He or she sticks with that path, develops it, cultivates it. As he or she sticks with that path, develops it, and cultivates it, the fetters are abandoned, the obsessions destroyed. So, what does this mean? First of all, these contemplations are what, if you go to say, I in the Thai forest tradition, in the monasteries or the Thai forest tradition, this is part of their daily chanting. The monks there chant this on a daily basis to remind themselves that they have they are not free yet of these sufferings. So the Buddha says, a disciple of the noble ones, meaning all of us, considers, you think that you're not the only one. Okay, everyone is subject to, in this passage, aging. Everyone is subject to aging, have not gone beyond aging. And then when you keep reflecting on your own mortality, he says that eventually factors of the path take birth. What is that? That would be the Noble Eightfold Path, if you understand what the Dharma is all about. And because you realize that, this trip that you're going to take is going to come one day, then you develop the Noble Eightfold Path. And if you stick to that path, you don't deviate, meaning you don't go back to your unwholesome habits, then fetters, meaning your attachments or your desires, are abandoned. And then the obsessions, the reason that all the things that you're doing that bring you back to rebirth will be destroyed or weakened. Okay. So the Buddha says, a disciple of the noble ones considers the same thing for all the rest of the list. You do the same um, uh, thought or mindfulness or examination of yourself when it comes to, we covered aging. So now it's illness, our mortality or death, that we will grow different, separate from all that is dear and appealing to me. Also, you can say that we have no real control over the things that happen to us, and of our cause. And then the final one is on our cause and effect. So the Buddha concludes with the same formula. He says, when one often reflects on this, the factors of the path take birth. Then we stick on that path, we develop it, we cultivate it, and then as a result of that, our fetters or the things that bind us to rebirth are abandoned and our obsessions destroyed. So that's what the Buddha says. This is how we can develop right view, by not being blissfully ignorant, or we know, but it never occurs to us to think about our lives that way, and so it gets pushed to one side. Buddha says, no, we shouldn't really do that, because that's not right view. You are ignoring a fact or facts of life. What does Bodhidharma have to say? Okay, let me advance the slide. This is what Bodhidharma has to say about not understanding cause and effect. Bodhidharma says, mortals who don't understand true practice. So I added in the word karma after this, because this has to do with understanding cause and effect. Mortals who don't understand true practice and blindly perform good deeds are born into the three higher states of existence within the three realms. Okay. And what are these three higher states? So you would think that Bodhidharma is saying something negative, because he's saying who don't understand true practice and blindly perform good deeds. But he's attaching this to the three higher states of existence, which maybe seems contradictory. Okay, let's find out what are the three higher states first. It says, those who blindly perform the 10 good deeds and foolishly seek happiness are born as gods in the realm of desire. There are six, uh, let me see, material realms or heavens above us, if I have it right. I think there's six. Okay, forget about six, I'm not sure. But there are the heavens right above us, are known as the material realms. So the Bodhidharma is saying, if you do the 10 good deeds and seek happiness, he says, blindly perform the 10 good deeds and seek happiness are born as gods in the realm of desire. And then he goes on to say, those who blindly observe the 5 precepts and foolishly indulge in love and hate are born as men in the realm of anger. So this points to people uh, who first take the 5 precepts and don't really know what the 5 precepts are. They know the words, they know, okay, no killing, no harming, no lying, and then but they don't really understand the cause and effect of the 5 precepts, or how to hold the 5 precepts in spirit, or how to expand the principle of the 5 precepts in everyday lives. Their view of the 5 precepts is very narrow. And because of that, they still foolishly indulge in love and hate. She says people like that are born as men in the realm of anger. So he chooses to call um, human realm as the realm of anger. And then he says, and those who blindly that's a typo. It should be cling, C-L-I-N-G. I apologize for that. So he said, those who blindly cling to the phenomenal world, believe in false doctrines, and pray for blessings are born as demons in the realm of delusion. This, you could say, is everyone else, but that seems a bit harsh. But basically, it's just people who assume that this everything in this world is real. That means we are really attached to our mundane world. And because we either do not have a good knowing advisor to show us the way, or because of past affinities, it says beliefs in false doctrines. False doctrines are just things that you do that will not help you end rebirth. Just one way of putting it. It says, and pray for blessings. We can take that to mean people who don't understand cause and effect. They think that how you say that what happens to them in daily life is up to the gods or a god, and so if they need help, they pray for blessings rather than understanding that it is because of their own actions that they are now undergoing afflictions or happiness. So they look towards others for fortune or misfortune in their own lives. So Bodhidharma says people like that eventually get born as demons in the realm of delusion. Okay. Before we go into why Bodhidharma is being so harsh in his teachings, let's see what he has to say about. So to him, this is the three. Um, Let me go back and get everyone on the same page. These are the three higher states. Okay, first it talks about the three higher states, and the three higher states are what you see in front of you: born as gods in the realm of desire, born as men in the realm of anger, or born as demons in the realm of delusion. And then he goes on to say, what are the three lower states? He says they are where those who persist in poison thoughts and evil deeds are born. Those whose karma from greed is greatest become hungry ghosts. Those who karma from anger is greatest become sufferers in hell. And those who uh, karma from delusion is greatest become beasts. To understand this, look at how the mind functions. If your mind is full of greed and you're always not being able to have enough and you want what other people have, then that state of mind is what brings you to your existence as a hungry ghost. And as a hungry ghost, that's the state of mind that you are um, kind of fixed into. It's like a loop, and it becomes really hard to break out of that, because as a hungry ghost or in the hell, or as animals, you are ruled mostly by your emotions rather than logic. So even when you encounter the Buddha's teachings, if you have the good fortune to encounter it, because you're so emotional, it's very, very hard to take in the teachings and be able to transform yourself. Okay, since we do not have any suggestions, or people are still afraid to speak up, um, let's go back to this slide where I say Bodhidharma seems very harsh. This is because when Bodhidharma says blindly perform the 10 good deeds and foolishly seek happiness, or for men, he says blindly observe the 5 precepts and foolishly indulge in love and hate, he's referring to people who don't have a right view of what practice is all about. And so because we don't have right view, what he says is that we are creating blessings, but we are not creating merit. In one of our earlier classes, we talked about the difference between blessings and merit. You can do the same thing, you can perform the same act, but it is the intention behind the act that makes the difference between blessings and merit. So, for example, you may provide alms food uh, to monks and nuns, and you do that because your friend says, oh, this is a very good thing to do, and because you're new to Buddhism, and you say, oh, okay, I want to create blessings, and so you donate some food to the monastery, or you cook the food, which is a lot better because you put in your own effort, and then you bring it to the monastery, and it makes you very happy as you serve the food or as you leave the food there. That's blessings. Someone else or you can do the same thing, but in your heart you say that you are doing this because you really want to be reborn in a pure land, or you want to transfer the merit or the blessings from this act so that you can be reborn in a pure land, or that you can always encounter the Dharma, or that you'll meet the Buddha in your future life. Anything that has to do with ending birth and death, anything that has to do with, say, the Noble Eightfold Path, then that would be merit, because that leads directly to that plants, you are planting the causes for a future condition where, because of the Dharma, you can end your afflictions. So that's why Bodhidharma is being harsh here, but he's being harsh because he's saying people who perform the 10 good deeds blindly, meaning they have no right view, okay? Or you hold the precepts blindly, meaning you hold the precepts well, but your mind behind the precepts, or the way you hold the precepts, is very narrow, and you're not thinking too much about your future or ending suffering. You hold the 5 precepts just because you want a better life, and you don't really mind coming back. So he says it's foolish. Why? Because the alternative is, if you really understand how serious suffering is, then you would change your mind. You can still do the same thing, hold the 5 precepts, but you would change your mind as to why you're holding the 5 precepts. Okay, so let's investigate this more. Um, Bodhidharma continues by saying, it says, these 3 lower states and the 3 higher states form the 6 states of existence. From this, you should realize that all karma, painful or otherwise, comes from your own mind. If you can just concentrate your mind and transcend its falsehood and evil, the suffering of the 3 realms and 6 states of existence will automatically disappear. And once free from suffering, you're truly free. You can apply this last paragraph to if you're practicing Pure Land practice, you can apply this to your Pure Land practice. Okay, have right view And then from that right view, you apply that to how you practice the Pure Land. Okay. Um, let me see, what else do we have? Okay, so a lot of people think that being reborn in the heavens is a really good thing. Like they want to be reborn in the heavens. If you don't want to go to the Pure Land, and they say, "Oh, I wish to be born in the heavens," or "I'm doing this for the blessings for heavenly rebirth." Heavenly rebirth is a lot better than human rebirth, and they want to be reborn in the heavens. Heavenly rebirth is a natural result of doing good deeds, as Bodhidharma said it, the 10 good deeds. But what people don't know is that the in the heavens, the gods that really understand, they want to be reborn as men, or they want to be reborn in the human realm. So as humans, we want to be reborn in the heavenly realms, but the devas or the gods in the heavens who understand want to be reborn in the human realm instead. Isn't that funny? Okay, what what does that mean? Okay, that's not many people know that. Okay, so this is from a passage of a section of the sutras called the Iti Wu Taka, and this particular one is from the group of threes. They have group of one, the singles, and then the group of twos, threes, fours. And this part is about how the devas desire a human rebirth. So the Buddha explained, he said, when a deva means a heavenly being, okay? When a deva is about to pass away from the company of devas, says 5 omens or signs appear. 1, his garlands wither, his clothes get soiled, sweat comes out from his armpits, Aldanus descends on his body, and he no longer delights in his own deva seat. The devas, knowing this, that this deva son is about to pass away, encourage him with 3 sayings. They encourage him with, says, "Go from here, honorable sir, to a good destination. Having gone to a good destination, gain the gain that is good to gain. Having gained the gain that is good to gain, become well established." Okay, so what does this mean? The 5 signs, the garlands of Veda. It is said that if you are a heavenly being, you wear, I think you have flowers that appear like magic on your hair. You don't have to pick the flowers. You don't have to arrange the flowers. They just appear in your hair and make you look very nice and probably smell very good too, because these are heavenly flowers. So your garlands means the flowers that adorn you, Vida. So in heavens, flowers don't how you say, get old, or like flowers in our world don't last very long. Flowers in heaven don't have to undergo the decaying process, but when your life is about to end, and if you're a heavenly being, then your flowers do. Okay, and then your clothes start getting dirty, as opposed to clothes are always clean, and then you start to sweat through your armpits, and then your body no longer shines. Heavenly beings give out light. They're like a light bulb where they are luminous, they give out light, uh, but you become dull, and no longer delights in his own deva seat. I think I've heard it mentioned that that means that you are physically not comfortable anymore. In the form realms, you still have a body. You're not consciousness only. The heavenly beings there still possess a body, although the body physically is very different from us. Um, but no matter if they're sitting, standing, or maybe flying around, they don't feel comfortable at all. Discomfort starts to set in. Like for regular people like us, you sit too long, then you start feeling pain or discomfort, and that happens to a heavenly being as their life is about to end. Okay, so after the Buddha said this, among us, the Buddha, it says, "What lot is the devas reckoning of going to a good destination? What is their reckoning of the gain that is good to gain? What is their reckoning of becoming well established?" Well, if you had the same questions as to what does it mean when the gods mean a good destination, what is good to gain and what is becoming well established. The monk has already asked the Buddha in this sutta, and let's see what the Buddha has to reply. Buddha says, the human state, monks, is the Deva's reckoning of going to a good destination. So we think going to the heavens is a good destination, whereas heavenly beings, when they are about to die and they realize, oh my God, my death is coming, they want to become humans. We want to go to the heavens, they want to come to the human realm. And the Buddha says, having become a human being, acquiring conviction in the Dharma and Vinaya taught by the Tathagata or the Buddha, this is the Deva's reckoning of the gain that is good to gain. When that conviction is settled within one, rooted, established, and strong, not to be destroyed by any Brahman or contemplative, Deva, Mara, or Brahma, or anyone else in the world, this is the Deva's reckoning of becoming well established. Okay, so a huge part of the population in this world, their aim is to be reborn in the heavens, which is not a bad thing. Okay, but you take a few steps back, and you understand. The more you understand about how the way of the world is, and more about the Dharma, you realize that, wait a minute, heavenly beings think that it is really good to be born as a human being. Why? Because you can learn the Dharma and the Vinaya that was taught by the Buddha. This is the first good gain that is good to gain. And by learning and practicing the Dharma with right view, then one becomes rooted, established, and strong in the path. And when this happens, no Brahman, meaning Brahman or Brahma. Okay, so Brahman or contemplative means no one can come and disturb you. So if someone tells you something about the Dharma, which is not very true, you are not affected because you know for yourself what the Dharma is. You don't follow after people who say wrong or deviant things. You're not affected. Why? Because your wisdom comes from within, or you rely on right view from say like the Buddha, Shufu. No God, Mara, or the evil one who tries to bring you back to rebirth, or Brahma. Lord Brahma is in the heavens. He is the top of all of all the gods. He is like the top god. No one can take away your wisdom that comes from within. Yeah. So there you go. We as humans don't appreciate the opportunity that we have. Instead, we look outside. Instead of making the best of what we have, that even heavenly gods know. What we do is, instead of practicing right now, like really practicing and using this opportunity, we squander it by just doing enough to get by and just feel a bit comfortable, find a bit of happiness, and hope for a future happiness that we can't even guarantee for ourselves. Yeah. And that brings us to our next topic. We have enough time to finish the next one, which is there's a sutta called the Pansu Sutta. Pansu is Pali for the word dust, and it's called Dangers of Rebirth, or I call it Dangers of Rebirth. In this sutta, the Buddha wants to explain the dangers of rebirth. So we've seen that, or we know that most humans really want to, or even as Buddhists, don't mind to be born in the heavenly realms. And then we discovered that there's a sutta, the Buddha says that actually heavenly beings want to be reborn in the human realm so that they can learn the Dharma and practice. But at the same time, it's not guaranteed. Just because you want something to happen doesn't mean that it will happen. So the Buddha in this sutta says, in front of the monks, he picks up a little dust with the tip of his fingernail, which is to say is very, very little. He said to the monks, what do you think, monks? Which is greater, the little bit of dust I have picked up with the tip of my fingernail or the great earth? Then, it's like asking a question that doesn't need to be answered, but the monks are very obliging. They say, the great earth is far greater, Lord. The little bit of dust the Blessed One has picked up with the tip of his fingernail is next to nothing. It doesn't even count. It's no comparison. It's not even a fraction. This little bit of dust it has picked up, when you compare to the great earth, there's nothing to compare at all. Okay. Then the Buddha explains why he asks. He says, in the same way, monks, few are the beings who, on passing away from the human realm, are reborn among human beings. Far more are the beings who, on passing away from the human realm, are reborn in hell. Therefore, your duty is a contemplation. This is stress. This is the origin of stress. This is the cessation of stress. Your duty is the contemplation. This is the path of practice leading to the cessation of stress. So the Buddha is making his point. He says, compared to the whole world, this little bit of dust, you can't compare. He says, if you were buying a lottery, your chances of being reborn, buying the winning ticket, or being reborn as a human being is just like that. You can't compare. It's very, very hard. So a lot of us, we take for granted that we're going to come back, although we have no way of knowing. We do not have the wisdom or the skill to guarantee our own rebirth. And whether we know or not, or we just, I don't know, knowing that makes me feel very uncomfortable. I'm not sure about all of you, but I hope that it makes you uncomfortable to the point that if you haven't, you start to take the practice more seriously. And then in the last paragraph, because he's speaking to the monks, this paragraph refers to the Four Noble Truths, the origin of stress, and how through the Noble Eightfold Path, the stress can end. So if you're practicing the Pure Land, then this last paragraph, you can assume that it refers to your Pure Land practice, or you can dwell deeper into the Noble Eightfold Path. Noble Eightfold Path complements Pure Land practice. So the last paragraph just means the practice. So the Buddha has talked about human realm, okay? Now, and how it's very, very hard to be reborn in the human realm. Another analogy that's being used by the Buddha about your chances of coming back as a human, he says that imagine there's a vast ocean, a big, big ocean, and in this ocean, randomly floating around is a piece of wood with a hole. And he says, this ocean also has a blind turtle who every 100 years comes up for air. So you have this big ocean, you have this blank piece of wood that's floating around with a hole, and every 100 years there's one turtle that comes up for air. It says the chances of the turtle coming up for air, and as it comes up for air, it comes out through the hole in the plank, which is randomly floating around. It says that's that explains how likely you are to be reborn as a human. That's another example that the Buddha used to explain to us how much we should cherish our human existence right now, especially since we're all here listening to the Dharma. How difficult that is. Okay, then the Buddha goes on and say, in the same way, monks, few are the beings who, on passing away from the human realm, are reborn among human beings. Far more are those who are reborn in the animal womb or in the domain of the hungry ghost. It says, in the same way, monks, few are the beings who are passing away from the human realm are reborn among devas. Far more are the beings who, on passing away from the human realm, are reborn in hell, in the animal womb, in the domain of the hungry ghost. So to be reborn in the heavens, or to be reborn as a human, is that little speck or little dust that the Buddha picked up on his fingernail. Chances of us falling is far greater, according to the Buddha. Now the Buddha talks about, he moves on from the human realm to the gods. It says, in the same way, monks, few other beings who on passing away from the Deva realm are reborn among Devas. Far more are the beings who on passing away from the Deva realm are reborn in hell, in the animal womb, in the domain of the hungry ghosts. It says, in the same way, few other beings on passing away from the Deva realm are reborn among human beings. So the heavenly beings who wish to be reborn in the realm of humans is kind of saying, good luck, because you're not in control. You know, the Buddha says your chances of being reborn in the realm of humans is very, very little. It says, far more are the beings who on passing away from the Deva realm are reborn in hell, in the animal womb, or in the domain of the hungry ghost. So from the heavens, it is not a given that either because you want to, or that the next rebirth will be in either in the heavenly realm again or in the human realm. What does it depend on? It depends on the karma that we generate, the intention behind the things that we do. Okay, so the Buddha goes again to say, therefore, your duty is a contemplation, and he talks about this is stress, this is the origin of stress, this is the cessation of stress. This means the Four Noble Truths. It says, your duty is a contemplation. This is the path of practice leading to the cessation of stress, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. So, or to most of us, we can replace these words with Pure Land practice. So all this is to say that when we understand with proper understanding, right view of the precepts and of our everyday lives, it helps us understand that, the world is, how you put it, without being in control of ourselves, or without planting the right conditions, the right causes for favorable future conditions, then rebirth is actually really scary, because we are not in control. So Pure Land practice is a way that we can apply ourselves properly, so that we can avoid all these pitfalls. All right. Okay, it's time. We have a question. It says, any event in Tenpian for this Wednesday? I think given we will have a event at Tenpian, but I do not think it will be open to the public. Number one, as to whether we are broadcasting it. Let me see who's with us today. Is Chui with us? Yes, he's with us. Chui, can you hear me? Are we doing any Zoom for our to celebrate Kuan Yin this Wednesday? No. Okay, so Chui says no. So yeah, we have an event, but it's not open to the public. But what you can do is that you can recite the Pure Conduct chapter yourself at home, or you can do the Great Compassion Repentance, for example, or you can do something wholesome, something good, or recite Kuan Yin's name by yourself at home. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's dedicate merit. Do we have any other questions or any reflections? Okay. If not, let's.
Excuse me, Faster.
Yes.
Is there any way that we can send some flowers over for the celebration?
Yes, if you want to.
So
you mean
we
like
need to contact
personally, or you want to do it through a delivery service?
Delivery process. So we have to contact the counter, is it? To let them know?
Yes. Yeah, you call the counter, but the counter, we only have people on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the counter,
Okay.
and only in the morning. So if do you have the phone number?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you call them and arrange with them, or
Uh-huh.
at least give the florist the phone number.
Okay.
But if you are unable to, then you can you can get in touch with me, because our gate is locked. It's not open.
Okay. I will arrange that. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's dedicate merit. Huh. I can't find my. Just give me a moment. Okay. Uh, what is the question regarding meal offering? Can you elaborate? No? Okay. Then let's just dedicate merit. May every living being. Oh, sorry. Oh, give me a moment. I can't. There's something with the slides that I cannot control. Hold on. Okay, ignore that. Okay, got it now. All right. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. I just want to say something before we end. Um, Heavenly rebirth is not all. There's, how you say, there's nothing negative about heavenly rebirth. Okay, you can still practice the Dharma in the heavens. In fact, you can still, for example, Lord Chakra, who is the heaven, in the heaven of the 33, uh, he he in the heavens as Lord Chakra gained entry into the first stage of arhatship. He became a sage while he was a heavenly being, and as the Buddha speaks the Dharma, he's always surrounded by heavenly beings who come and listen to the Dharma. So you going to the heavens is not a negative thing, and you can still practice when you are in the heavens. But if you don't have the practice, if you don't develop the habit of practicing as a human, then when you get reborn in the heavens or you get a human birth again, it is very easy to forget because you don't have that habit, and then you might get lost and go back into uh, immersing yourself in pleasures and desires rather than remembering to you're supposed to get yourself out of it. And thank you, Lucy, for reminding me to do the 3 bows. I think I forgot again last week. I forgot. So let's do 3 bows to the Buddha and then to Shifu. Okay. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Venerable Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Okay, everyone. We'll see you next week. Amrito.
Cảm ơn Pháp Sư.